with season 4 of And the Boys finale wrapping up on Prime Video, it's really shown how much indie comics can become these big household names and these big animated projects. These got so many people to want to check out the source material from the comics. However, I believe there are some indie comics that could really make awesome adaptations just as good as these two. In this video, I'm going to go over comics that I believe deserve some great adaptations. If you would want to see me try to build my own superhero universe or would want to see me talk about the comic book media in general, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that way you'll never miss a video. So what is the definition of indie? And the definition, in my opinion, of indie is the author having full control over your idea. Also, big corporations can't fully take over your idea unless you work out some sort of a partnership deal or overall just sell your idea. But in general, it's just creator-based on comics that no one could really touch upon. Now, the first comic that comes in mind when someone says the comic that deserves an adaptation is Radiant Black. Quoted by Robert Kirkman, creator of The Invincible and Walking Dead. Quote, the perfect superhero comic for anyone missing Invincible. Quote, Robert Kirkman. Radiant Black is about an author named Nathan as he has to move back to his hometown with his parents after getting into some crippling debt as an author. He can't get loans from the bank. Literally, he's got no reliable sources other than to just rely on others. And he reunites with his best friend named Marshall as one night they go out to drink. And they all of a sudden stumble upon this black hole that transforms Nathan into Radiant Black. Now, what I believe makes Radiant Black so special compared to any other comic books out there is that it feels more mature and dark tone. Well, not super dark, but just more mature. And not really for kids, I'll admit. Or kids might not get the message. So, Radiant Black feels more like a soap opera about life personally throwing you a lot of challenges along your way. And it's not even the superhero challenges, too. Nathan has a lot of depth and feels like no matter what amount of progress he can make, he feels like he's not getting to where he wants to be. Literally, the first page of Radiant Black is showing his depth. And throughout the first course of the issue, he tries to convince banks to give him money. But it feels like it's not only about that, but also about the character dynamics that everyone has. Nathan is normal just like us, behind the soap opera of Radiant Black. And one day, when they do stumble across this little black hole, transforming into Radiant Black, it feels like it's not a way of, cool, I have superpowers, I'm become a superhero. It feels more like, why should I be the hero, even though I have this power? And he gets in a situation where he could clear his depth right now if he steals this money, but overall doesn't decide to. I feel like that's very great. Also, I like the fact that it feels like Nathan is not afraid to be vulnerable. We see him having conversation with his dad across the dinner table when eating breakfast together, talking about life in general. And it feels like his equivalent to Uncle Ben. And Marshall feels like the dumb, idiotic friend, but at the same time, he gets his moments where we feel like these characters are growing, even though it's the first course of a few issues. Spoilers ahead, but Nathan gets into a coma after fighting another Radiant, and I'll get into the other Radiants. Marshall is going through this stage of grief right now until he finds out that there are other Radiants out there, and that's another cool thing. The world building and lore behind the Radiants is so cool, in my opinion. There's different Radiants, Radiant Pink, Radiant Yellow, and it feels like it adds a more variety of characters outside of just the ones that don't have superpowers, and I really like that. Well, just like Radiant Black has, or it looks like it's going to have a beginning, middle, and ending. And it feels like it's not going to drag on for a very long time. That's what I find very unique about comics nowadays. And it feels like some comics are ending where it doesn't feel like it dragged on, but kind of disappointed some fans. But then again, you'll never satisfy any fans. Case in point, Ultimate Spider-Man. I'm not sure what happened behind the scenes for that comic, but it ended at 24 issues. And a lot of the fandom really felt like this was starting to boost up the story. But ultimately, get it. But that's more about it being interconnected with one universe. The Massiverse in general, which is what this universe is called, doesn't feel like an interconnected universe where you have to read one story more than the other. They're just all coexist in one universe and collab once in a while for a comic called Supermassive, I think. And that's mainly all. Hardly any of these guys, really collab with each other. So that's what makes the Massiverse so good in general. I could dive into the rest of the Masterverse, and maybe I'll make a whole video on that too. But besides from that, Radiant Black seems like it could be a genuinely good TV show. It has like a mix of Nightwing, Iron Man, and Spider-Man in a way. That's basically what I could say. If Spider-Man, Nightwing, and Iron Man had a baby together. I don't know how that'll happen. Don't ask me. I don't know. But in general, Radiant Black could make such a great TV show. And I'm not going to go deep dive into every single one of these, but highly recommend. Go check out the comic. It's one of the best new things right now. It doesn't feel like corporation slop that is just trying to find the next big TV show property. It feels like the author has genuine passion for his characters. Okay, future me here. Slight note. I realized I forgot to mention that there was an animated Radiant Black short called Radiant Black versus Blaze, I think. It was done by Tiger Animation. I believe they worked on Avatar The Last Airbender. I don't think so. But it was voiced by Terry McGinnis, a.k.a. Batman Beyond. So we did kind of already get a glimpse of what a potential Radiant Black show could be. I forgot to include it in the script. But yeah, we kind of already have a glimpse of what an adaptation could be. So that's about it for me. Now, with Radiant Black set aside, I feel like the next character is Todd McFarlane's Spawn. Now, Spawn, I feel like we see a lot of the time in some places, but you truly never get to see who he is as a character to the public eye, which is why I believe he deserves an adaptation. I mean, come on. If you don't know who Spawn is, look at this character design and tell me you have never seen this guy in your entire life. He is super, super cool, in my opinion. He's probably one of my favorite superheroes. So, Spawn has been in Mortal Kombat. He was in the Invincible comics and apparently got killed by one of the Mark variants, which I never read the comic. But then he's also been in an HBO series. He's also been featured in a Spawn movie from the 1970s. But I feel like nowadays, especially in the 2020s, we don't see Spawn that much. And I'll be honest with you, I've been waiting so long for a great adaptation to like give this character some life. We were, and we still are, getting that Blumhouse studio movie for Spawn. Blumhouse is the same people that are working on the Freddy Fazbear movies, but that's like besides the point. The point is right now is what I'm saying is that we have not gotten updates on this movie. And I'll be honest with you, at this rate, I wouldn't be surprised if it got canceled later down the line, considering that we got 2 FNAF movies in the same time. Like I believe that we were supposed to get a Spawn movie. Which to that I say, Blumhouse, what are you doing? It's called King Spawn, and I don't think they're going to truly adapt Al Simmons. There are multiple Spawn variants, and I'll get into Spawn's origin or not, but for now, I feel like we just haven't gotten a proper adaptation that Spawn really deserves. He is one of the biggest pillars when it comes to indie comics to this day. If it wasn't for Todd McFarlane teaming up with a bunch of executives, ex-executives, and ex-artists from Marvel, we would have never got Image, and without Image, we wouldn't have gotten so many of these indie comics that we talk about nowadays. Heck, I'm not even sure I'd be making this video if it wasn't for them. Considering that, well, Image kind of owns a lot of indie comics, but alright, so the point of what I'm trying to say is Spawn could be so much different and so much darker than any other comic book show out there, or any comic book media out there. Now, Spawn is about an assassin named Al Simmons that's a highly trained assassin that dies from his own agency. His soul goes to hell. 5 years later, thanks to the devil, he revives Al Simmons back to the dead, but not as Al Simmons, but as a Hell Spawn. Or, considering his name's Spawn, it's Spawn. It's a Spawn, basically. He goes and discovers his wife had already married to his best friend. And I feel like to that shows a core aspect that Spawn goes through a lot of pain while he realizes that life moves on without him. And he feels like he would rather much die now than to have ever been revived back from the devil. As much as a happy man Al Simmons really was, he really can't escape being immortal, even if it costs letting go of his own life. He realizes that as long as he feels pain and suffering, his suit, or whatever you want to call it, I'm considering kind of like a layer of skin in a way, but you know what, I'm not even going to go with that. So the more pain he feels, the more stronger he gets, basically, the more emotional pain he gets. And Spawn's villains is the devil. The devil is mainly Spawn's villain, considering that he put him through this path of seeing life move on without him. And to that, I'd say it's pretty reasonable on why Spawn goes through emotional pain. For example, we all, or at least some of us here, have heard Spawn's immortality speech.
Someone who's immortal could never understand my pain.
Do you even know the definition of immortality? It means that I, and only I, cannot die. Would you like to take a guess at how many funerals I've been to? How many friendly smiles I've seen turn into flowers in front of a tombstone? And some of them don't even get that ending. I've seen people crumble, disappear without a trace, endings so horrible that no one should have ever seen them. And that's not all. I am afraid of loving anyone. For I know that inevitably, at some point, they will crumble away or betray me.
From that speech alone, it gives me chills, and in a way, I know a lot of people say that they would want to die eventually, but it shows us a different side on what would happen if we didn't. Spawn himself says that eventually people will die. We all will die eventually, and we see someone who really can't die and see that it's emotional pain. And I feel like that shows that we should be grateful for that we eventually do pass, because if we all live through the same thing every single day without dying, then life really has no consequence, right? At least in my opinion. But Spawn shows us a different side of a superhero that isn't about a secret identity. It isn't about trying to get back to your school by the time you solve a crime. It's about emotional pain and what really could go down to someone that truly cares deeply if they get shattered by some occurring event. Like I said earlier, we were supposed to get a King Spawn movie, and apparently might be about Jim Spawn, or I forgot his name. I'm pretty much sure his name is Jim, but that is going to be what King Spawn is about, supposedly. But I would really like them to tackle Al Simmons, concerning that, in my opinion, Al Simmons has the most emotion out of every Spawn. He is the original Spawn. He got revived for, I believe, like Image's equivalent to like Secret Wars. He did eventually, blow up and end himself, but that's like a little bit early on in the comic. But in my opinion, I feel like Spawn as a character really deserves this TV show adaptation. Trust me, go read Spawn right now, considering that it is such an old comic, but such a classic comic. Well, not that old, but it's still a classic comic nonetheless. I feel like as Spawn gets a comic adapted into a movie or anything, it'd be big for indie comic animation, or indie comics in general. So what would I think Spawn would do best as between a TV show, or movie, or video game? I choose, honestly, to do it based off a movie. Now, let me get one thing straight. I feel like if we really wanted to adapt every Spawn, make it a separate movie each. Don't make it like an interconnected Spawniverse or whatever. What I'm trying to say is make every Spawn feel unique than the last. Have Al Simmons be the more emotional beat Spawn. Have Medieval Spawn have more better world building. Have each Spawn be different and have their own character arc, ending it off with resolving it. In the original Spawn movie, I believe Spawn rejected like a very important role and had to go end up doing his own thing and wanting to protect humanity himself. Like, that could be the way that Al Simmons Spawn movie ends. And I feel like that you can make so many Spawn movies and it's not even being interconnected. Similar to the Masterverse, not every single project needs to be an interconnected idea. Sure, you could maybe do a collab now and then, but that's not something that I believe Spawn should do. Have a different Spawn movie for a different purpose, and we should be smooth sailing to go. But I don't know, that's just maybe my opinion, but that's why I think Spawn deserves to be an adaptation. Because his emotional story shows us another side of what us humans realize is that we'll die eventually. And there's a specific other comic that I would want to talk about one day that's about immortality. But I'll get to Freerun one day. I'll get to Freerun one day. But without further ado, Spawn, definitely give this guy an adaptation. I am very surprised that this is still considered indie. Love him or hate him, the beloved 5 family, or 7 family, if you really want to count the 2 humans, the Ninja Turtles. Now, the Ninja Turtles is a IP that I believe we see everywhere, okay? You cannot see the Ninja Turtles. There's no way you cannot not see the Ninja Turtles. TV shows, comic books, movies, toys, plushies, skateboards. We see the Ninja Turtles everywhere, okay? There's no way you can have never seen anything Ninja Turtle related. We all know each one has a unique personality. We know their names. We know the weapons they wield. It's a universal IP that I believe we all know about, despite us not fully understanding all the lore. But I'm not going to dive into the normal Ninja Turtles. There is one comic from the Ninja Turtles that I believe is a hidden gem. Well, not really a hidden gem, but is a gem that is worth selling. Or, in this scenario, worth getting an adaptation. So we all know the Ninja Turtles, but there is one... But I believe we do not give enough credit to The Last Ronin. Now, The Last Ronin is basically about three brothers, Splinter and Casey Jones, dying. The last remaining turtle adds mystery to the story. This takes place in the cyberpunk city. Years after all of these guys die, April O'Neil, still alive, has a daughter named Casey, after Casey Jones, and we see that they were originally going to get engaged, which to that's sad for me, honestly. So it shows a story of grief, as the whole goal is for the Last Ronin to fight Shredder's grandson, which to that I'd say, okay, pretty cool. You got the turtle going on a revenge arc. Overall, the story itself, I believe, isn't groundbreaking, or actually it is groundbreaking. The backstory especially too. We see this beloved family slowly crumble as each turtle dies. I'm not going to spoil which the Last Ronin is, but let's just say seeing how they are in reality and putting this what if twist really shows a different character perspective. Giving a what if to a concept is pretty cool for the most part, but I feel like this gives us genuine character growth. Each turtle dying is showing that the family crumbled, and this last turtle hallucinates about the original, and it's a story about loneliness, like I've already mentioned. And you may wonder, oh, just look at the bandana or the weapons. Well, what was so cool about The Last Ronin is that he wears a black bandana and masters all of the weapons that Splinter had gave his brothers. I'm being very careful about my vocabulary choice right now, considering that I might spoil who it is. But, yeah, he masters all of the weapons. And there's like a big debate and power scaling, which I don't normally like getting into. But I'm going to say this right here. The Last Ronin solos all four turtles, okay? I'm going to say that right there. That's something I've been wanting to hold back in. But I believe we can all admit that if one of the turtles at least managed to master all four of the abilities, all four weapons, definitely most OP Ninja Turtle of all time. But this one constantly is not only mastered when it comes to the weapons, but its physical strength themselves. Look how chunky the Last Ronin is after all, okay? So it's not like it's something you can't ignore. So a good adaptation for this, honestly, give The Last Ronin a movie. The Last Ronin is relatively a very short story, I will admit. And I don't think it needed to be a big, long story. It just did what it did and left. It was like 6 to 8 issues. No, you'll probably go to Target or Walmart, you'll see like a hardcover Last Ronin story. That's all of it in one. And to that, I'd say, give this a movie, considering that if we were to get a TV show, I don't know, I feel like it just ruined the journey, as if you would go to the theater and witness this unimaginable well of a movie. Now, what I believe makes this so unique is understanding the foundation of the Ninja Turtles in the first place. We all know the Ninja Turtles, like I mentioned. We all see that they're kind of goofy now at hand. But us getting this unique twist on them is so unique. And to anyone with siblings, you'll relate to this movie and this comic a lot. Like, you'll see that it's about a sibling bond in a way. And to that, I'd say you don't need to be a Ninja Turtles fan to fully like this comic. Because in general, this comic is just a genuinely good comic. That's like the only way I could really put it at. It's genuinely a good comic that anyone could dive into. The emotional journey arc is so good in this comic, I'll be honest with you. It is a top 3 comic book in my opinion. I read it because my brother bought a hardcover a while ago at a comic shop I used to go to. And he I guess he took me to his barbershop. He wanted to keep me quiet, so he let me read it. I read it all in one sitting. I don't know how, but one of the best comics I've ever read. Okay, I'll say that. But in general, I believe The Last Ronin has already whelped its way as one of the best comics. Well, we are supposed to get a video game and a movie.
Cough.
But the movie went on a hiatus, considering that a live-action Ninja Turtles movie hasn't really came out in a decade, and if it were to come out and it be this extremely dark story, the kids aren't going to want to watch that. They'll be terrified of these guys. And as for the game, I haven't really heard any updates. I think that they're still going to do it, because, let's be honest, they print out these games like crazy nowadays. Like, I didn't know they put Splinter's Revenge, or whatever it's called, on a console. No. I forgot the game. It's not Shredder's Revenge, though. That's a classic game right there. That's a classic game right there. But in general, it being on a hiatus gives me a bit of a downside to it. So it seems like we're going to have two interconnected Ninja Turtle universes. One being the Mayhem universe. We were supposed to get Shredder Mayhem this year, but apparently got delayed like a year ago to 2027. So that's unfortunate. As for The Last Ronin, it's going on hiatus until we eventually get another Ninja Turtle movie. Another live-action Ninja Turtle movie. So, for all we know, they could want to bring back this project, but from what it seems like they're saying, they want to make one new movie of live-action Ninja Turtles, then release it. But I'd say this, just do it, man. Come on. The kids already got an animated movie. The live-action stuff, in my opinion, is kind of already overrated already. We've seen a lot of the live-action Ninja Turtles. I feel like just give this a proper, mature story. This is like a foundation of Ninja Turtle fans, but like a foundation of comic books in general. I feel like just give it that. Just give it that. That's all. You really can't mess up from there. But definitely, if it goes out of its hiatus and could return, it would go down, in my opinion, to be one of the best comic book adaptations of all time. So, in my opinion, that is why I believe Timothy Last Ronin deserves a comic book adaptation. In conclusion, indie gems could be just as good as big corporation logos if we just simply give them a chance. If any adaptation from an indie book gets an adaptation, then that's a big W for the entire industry. If you'd want to see me do a part 2 on more comics that deserve a great adaptation, drop a list below and I'll research it and actually get into the comic itself. Otherwise, have a nice day and goodbye.